first guest tonight is a Tony-winning actor you know from films like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Election and Glory. He stars in Plaza Suite, which is running at the Hudson Theater for a limited engagement through June 26th. Please welcome back to the show our friend Matthew Broderick, everybody.
Thank you.
It is great to have you here. It's great to have you back on Broadway.
Yeah, I agree. I'm great. I'm very glad to be back on Broadway.
So this is a play you get to do with your wife, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Exactly.
This was planned to happen a while back, and then it got derailed.
Yeah, 2 years ago we started the show in Boston, and then traveled to New York and did our week of rehearsal to get ready to open in New York, and we were on stage with full-on wigs and costumes, and saw a lot of producers started coming in and out of the theater and whispering and chatting. And I think basketball and hockey had just shut down. We were like, why am I wearing this wig on the... And eventually they were like, we're gonna take a short break and let's all meet in the house. And they said, we're gonna stop the show for 2 weeks because of COVID. You know?
Yeah.
Might be 4, honestly. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but it might be 4. But it's 2 weeks. And then, 2 years, like 2 years. For everybody else.
No, so you were almost ready to go, then you take 2 years off. No, it should be noted, you and Sarah play 3 different couples.
Exactly.
So this is you have a lot of dialogue to learn. Did it come right back?
No, it did not.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it would.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna study that stuff for 2 years. I know that's fine.
Yeah.
And I got back and I was like, this doesn't seem familiar to me.
Someone has switched out my script.
Yeah, none of this was in the script before. This is not. But then it gradually, it came back.
And then it's very exciting to do an opening night on Broadway. Did opening night go well?
Yeah, it was thrilling, It was, we have the exact same crew and designers, and everybody backstage was there 2 years ago. So the fact that we all somehow were still together and made it,
That's
all the understudies came out on stage, and it was a very lovely night.
Someone I knew was at opening night and said there was a set mishap.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the third play is basically the only story of it is that the couple and their daughter is supposed to be getting married at the plaza, and she has locked herself in the bathroom of the suite and will not come out. And the wedding is about to happen. So they're banging on the door and screaming. And so the whole thing is that she won't come out. She didn't say anything. And at one point I say, that's it, I'm going to bust down the door. So I run to the other side of the stage and I run full force. And I'm supposed to hit the door and it doesn't budge at all, And that's,
Yeah.
And then I say something amusing. And so this time, I ran at the door and I just smashed straight through it. So I was just in the bathroom suddenly. There was no daughter in there.
Yeah, so that's jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the kind of thing where you could improvise and say, now she's behind the shower curtain. I guess I could have said that. But I couldn't think of what to say.
So what did you say?
I think I said, and this is something to keep in mind in any improv.
Yeah.
Let's pretend that didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would imagine, obviously you don't want things to go wrong, but I imagine that audience was thrilled
They were very
a
delighted.
real moment like that. You obviously are on stage with your wife, and it's very nice. Do you talk about the show when you go home?
Not too much.
Okay.
I think we try to, that could lead to some, we try to avoid the, would you mind terribly staying still when I deliver this line? Because that could lead to very difficult home life.
Do you have, I would imagine there's, because again, you're communicating with the lines that Neil Simon wrote all these years ago. So if you want to communicate beyond that, it has to be nonverbal, which you've been married a long time. Nonverbal communication, I feel like my wife and I crush that.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. I'm very not great at, if something happens on stage that I don't think is as good as it should be or something, I tend to do something to say, that happened.
Yeah.
Like if
Like
if I'll do something that always gets a nice laugh, and I'll do it and it's silence, I'll be like, sometimes I find myself even being like, I look at the audience like, what's wrong with that? And I kind of can't help it. Some actors have complained about it, like, you're taking me out of it. I'm in it. I'm in it.
They're like, it also took me out of it when you ran through the bathroom door. Your Broadway debut. How old were you when you did Brighton Beach Memoirs, which was also Neil Simon?
20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think back? Do you reflect back on that time now doing?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 40 years ago.
Wow.
And here I am in a Neil Simon play, and I have a little scene where I lie on a bed. She's in the other room, and I'm just on the bed in the other room. And there was a scene in Brighton Beach where when other scenes would happen, I'd be in my bedroom, and the set was that you wouldn't leave. So I was always lying on this little foreshortened bed. And I'm back on a bed, and it's the same writer, and I'm, incredibly old, and it's sort of amazing to sit there. I mean, I don't know what to make of it, but it does occur to me once in a while.
Would you remember that time as a time that you were anxious and fearful of the weight of doing a Broadway show?
Yeah, I definitely was nervous, but when you're 20, you're kind of like, I think I can, I don't know. I didn't get that worried for some reason.
That's good, though.
Yeah, and this might be a false memory. It's possible if I went back, I was just like, it's probably like, don't take me out there, don't take me out there.
Talking to your old co-stars.
Yeah.
It's like, was it weird being around my confidence? They're like, no.
What confidence? Yeah, I don't remember it that way, yeah. I was so at ease, don't you think? No, I don't remember it that way, yeah. Can you tell nights where there may be Sex and the City fans in the audience because of how drawn they are to your wife? Yeah, there's always Sex and the City fans.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is very lovely, But there's a certain like woohoo that sounds like maybe is that, or if you hear a wine glass go clunk 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 clunk. That could be anybody.
That could be anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't stereotype and just
really
assume.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
No.
If it was a Cosmo, if somebody brought their own Cosmo glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch? When someone's in a show, they might send you, the whole season of a show. Did you guys watch and just like that all together?
No,
Okay.
I was not allowed to see it ahead at all.
Why?
I was told so that it would be more exciting for me.
Okay.
But I also think there was a fear that I would go to, a Gillicuddy's on the corner and say, hey, guess what happens?
Oh, you'd have one too many at the Irish pub.
Yeah,
and you'd spoil, and just like that.
Oh, Donahue, Yeah. So I wasn't trusted is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it must be fun. It must be fun, I would imagine, to watch your wife in that role again. It must have been so exciting.
It was wonderful, and it actually was fun to not know. The big thing I had to not know was the big secret of it.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe she was worried that if you saw that, you'd.
Well, she did fool me. Like, I did not know. I went to the premiere, and I guess it's okay to say now, but a large character went.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What happened?
Does it worry you? Like, I think I'd be worried if my wife would be that good at keeping a secret.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, how did you? You'd be like, what else are you? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot you don't know about me. Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy to have you back here.
I'm
like
very
I
happy
said,
to be back here.
It's great to have you on stage, and thank you so much for making time for us.
I love your show.
You guys, Matthew Broderick, Plaza Suite, running at the Hudson Theater for a limited engagement through June 26th.